guys, welcome to Kidmissing TV. We've been all over the place with this month because I moved and I've been sick, so it's been crazy. So I'm going to start with what should have been the first case of the month today. As you know, last Wednesday we restarted and we did the Vernon County Jane Doe. Somebody asked, is this a joke? I'm not sure what they meant by that in the comments, but no. Sadly, it is not a joke. It is very real. That poor woman. Anyway. This is the case of Genette Tate. She's missing from Aylesbury, United Kingdom. Well, England. She was abducted. She was murdered. English police call it a monstrous act. They say they're puzzled, and it's a mystery. Okay, I'm trying to... Okay, is this the guy that did it? Okay. I think he's the suspect, but we'll go there after. On August 19, 1978, Genette rounded a bend in Whiffen Lane. In front of her home, in front of her was her family, the school holiday, exams, a boyfriend, a career, a full, exciting life. At the time that this article was written, she would have been 53 years old. Whatever happened to her, whatever evil she came across, destroyed all of that. She was delivering copies of the Exeter Express and Echo newspaper in Devon, in the southwest of England. She was never seen or heard from again. Now, that Aylesbury is in Devon. She's from a tiny village. It literally, if she delivered the newspaper, she literally had a street and a lane, I think they said, to deliver. It was really a small area. I want to thank Georgia Marie. Excuse me. And to give you an idea of the area she lived in, like many of the towns and villages in Devon, it's described as a population of retired, commuter, and farming families with links to the land stretching back generations. You can literally drive through the village in 30 seconds. And all the surrounding area is farmland. Her dad dropped her mom off at work in Exeter. Genette was left at home when he left at 12:20 to bring their older daughter and her boyfriend to meet her daughter's coach. Genette set off for the Barton Farm Cottage sometime after 2 to deliver copies of the paper. She was riding a blue Kalkoff bike that she rode through Elsbere along Withen Lane and out of the village to the busy A3052, the main road connecting Exeter to the seaside town of Sidmouth. Or Sidmouth. I'm sorry, it's not Sidmouth. Sidmouth. It was busy holiday traffic. As she crossed the road outside the White Horse Inn, she collected a bundle of papers from the delivery van and began her round. They know this for sure because they know she picked up her papers. She was the relief paper girl, and she'd been doing the paper round for a week, and it was the Saturday she was going to finish doing it. It was her last day. She was standing in for the paper boy. He was doing something else that week, so she agreed to do it for him. By 3:15, she had traveled about 2/3 of the way along Withen Lane, having delivered 14 newspapers. At a small bridge, she met by chance two of her friends, Margaret Heavey and Tracy Pratt. The three girls chatted and started to walk back toward Elsbere together, Genette pushing her bike up a small slope. At the top of the incline, Genette got back on her bike and cycled ahead. She would have remained in Maggie and Tracy's sight for about 50 meters or so until the country lane bent out of view. This is the last time her friends ever saw her. Between 5 and 10 minutes later, the girls, who had been walking slowly behind Genette, came across her bike in the road. It was on its side with newspapers spilled from the basket. That's frightening. They began to call her name, looking all over the hedgerows into fields, but there was no response. Her father said, quote, Genette's friends came up the road to say that they couldn't find Genette anywhere and that they were pushing her bicycle. I went back with them to the lane to see where they had last seen her. And they all started looking by then. They were jumping over hedges, shouting her name, and all sorts. After a very short time, Violet said, John, I think we better call the police. It was the beginning of a missing persons search, which would become the largest and longest ever mounted by Devon and Cornwall police. This is a quote from retired Superintendent Mike Walsh. The earliest memory I have of Genette Tate is on a Saturday afternoon. I ripped my kitchen to pieces, intending to fit a new kitchen, and the Saturday afternoon we had the shout of a girl had gone missing. I had a call on Saturday evening to say tomorrow morning you're going to have to be out at Elsbere because a girl, Genette, has gone missing, and my kitchen, which I had started to do in the morning, I didn't see again for 4 or 5 weeks because I got heavily involved with the Genette Tate investigation. That's funny. So he tore his kitchen apart thinking he'd have the weekend to work on it. And a kid goes missing, and guess what? He doesn't see it for 4 more days. His wife must have been thrilled. You gotta find things to laugh at, guys. You know, in these serious cases, if you can find something to make you laugh, to make you smile, that's a good thing. John and Violet watched in bewilderment as their quiet village was transformed by the huge police presence. They spent the first evening looking for Genette in the lanes and fields. It was a pattern of activity that would last for days, then weeks, then months. I love how they wrote that. Detective Superintendent Eric Ruddle was in charge. He was vastly experienced, they say, and the second most senior detective in Devon, Cornwall. Below him, detectives were divided into teams, each with responsibility for a specific area. Nobody knew what happened to her. We had nothing to go on, Mike Walsh said. The disappointing thing was that before it was reported at all to any police, the girls, Tracy and Maggie, had moved the bicycle from the lane. So in other words, the actual scene had been tampered with. You don't know, it may have been a drawback that the scene had been tampered with before the job ever got reported. They were children. They didn't know. This girl was 13. She was 5 feet tall. And they say she had close styled brown hair. I'm not sure exactly what that means. She had a suntan, was wearing a white t-shirt with the name Genette embroidered on the left shoulder, and white Pillsmalls. I guess those are shoes. John remembers her as physically immature, but there are accounts from some of her friends that she was more developed in becoming a young woman. That's not unusual, and I'll tell you why. Dads don't see their little girls as, developing. You know, they don't like to think about that. Police took over the village hall in order to have like a staging area. Okay. Mrs. Matilda Rogers, a policeman's wife from Hull, that's a decent distance, I do believe, and her 14-year-old daughter Gail were on holiday in Devon and staying at a cottage in Withan Lane. They came forward and told police that they had seen the girls in the lane shortly before Genette had disappeared. They had also seen a man in a car. And it was considered to be very credible information, probably because she was a policeman's wife, and they figured that she would be a little more observant, just having been around a policeman all those years. It was a man in a maroon car, later embellished with the help of hypnosis into a Buick Triumph, if I can get the words out. 1300, or possibly with a car with fins, was described as being a young man of smart appearance with dark hair. When they say smart appearance, I think they mean he wore nice clothes, a suit or something, probably clean shaven. Her father said, "I had to have an alibi just the same as anyone else, and they were satisfied with where I'd been and what I'd done." So Genette was 13 years old, 5 feet tall. I do not have a phone number. But I will tell you that there is a suspect they believed she was transported from the scene and murdered. In 1990, a man was arrested in the Scottish borders after abducting a child. His crimes were so abominable that he truly warranted the epithet of monster. Robert Black was born in 1947 and given up for adoption by his mother, but he was 6 months old. From that point on, his development can be viewed as an object lesson in how to create a predatory pedophile. Oh, that's special. He was sexually abused by his foster father, put into care at 11 when his foster mother died, and then abused by staff while in the care of the state. On release, he worked as a butcher's boy, becoming a prolific abuser of young girls by the age of 15, and convicted dangerous child sex attacker by 17. In 1968, he headed to South to England, and in 1976 passed his driving test and got a job as a poster delivery driver. His work took him all over the UK and Ireland and into Europe. It was a perfect cover for a predatory pedophile. Oh boy. In 1984, he was convicted of the kidnap, rape, and murder of 3 girls and sentenced to life in prison. The crimes had been committed in the 1980s and each similarities to Genette's case. Let's examine them, shall we? Suzanne Maxwell, age 11. Abducted, raped, and murdered, July 30th, 1982. He deposited her body 264 miles away from where he had taken her. Caroline Hogg, 5, disappeared on July 8, 1983. Her body was found 310 miles away from where she disappeared. On March 26, 1986, Sarah Harper, 10, vanished after going to buy bread at the local shop in Leeds. Black dumped her body 71 miles away. They did try to prosecute him for Genette's case. And in 2011, he was convicted for the murder of 9-year-old Jennifer Carty, who was abducted and murdered by him on August 12, 1981. She was cycling to a friend's house. He died in prison in August of 2016. So he is the prime suspect in this case. They were 5 weeks from pressing charges. I never like to hear of anyone dying, but I gotta tell you, he was right where he belonged when he died. And what's scary is he dumped them so far away from where he took them. So Genette could be freaking anywhere. She was either 12 or 13. Why is that not listed here? That is so weird, guys. That it's not listed here. But it will be on the poster anyway. But like I said, she was either 12 or 13. So, like I said, she could be anywhere. This guy, to travel with a body, or even with an abducted child, for 310 miles, that's brave? I don't know. I don't know if brave is the right word for it, but it's something. If you have any information on this case, I guess you could call the Devon and Cornwall police. Again, I don't have the number. I don't know the country code, and unless the number shows up in the research for these international cases, I don't generally have a number. So, and I know in the UK numbers are kind of, well, they're backwards to us. Because instead of, we have 3 digits, the dash, 3, we have 3 digits, 3 digits, 4 digits. They have 4 digits, 3 digits, 3 digits. Just like their dates are backwards to us. Their dates are like the dates on this camera, which are wrong, by the way. I tried to figure out the other day how to fix it, but I'm going to need to look at the book. But I noticed it says it's March of last year. So, yeah. No. I'm going to get some water. It's cough syrup. Now I'm going to get this up before I get the first vlog up. Thank you so much for joining me on this spotlight of a horrific case. And I want to thank the authors of my research. I did not read it verbatim. I put my own words in. Where I quoted, I told you I quoted. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless you. Please click that like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And click that bell for notifications. so you know every time I upload, which is generally every Monday and Wednesday by 2 p.m. usually. Sometimes later. The last Thursday of the month for previews of the upcoming month. And first Saturday of the month for updates, for case updates. So that's the schedule. It hasn't changed, just because I moved, even though the schedule's been a mess. So happy birthday, Dr. King. Bye-bye.